Bingetown, how we feeling today? It's your boy Dave, joined by fellow Bingetown hosts Brian and Paul, low key part 2. And we are coming at you live with our continuation of Netflix's hit animated TV show Arcane, specifically episodes 4, 5, and 6. I'm just going to keep this intro simple and just say that this is legitimately one of the greatest animated shows of all time. It's definitely getting up into that Avatar range for me. I don't know about you guys. I might be jumping the gun a little bit. We might need a few more seasons from that, but each episode leaves me wanting more. And this is where it kind of gets into, I'm actually really liking this 3-episode release as well. At the end of episode 4, I'm just laying there in bed. We get that cliffhanger and I'm like, shucks, man. I have to wait another week for this, but 3 seconds later, that ba-bum came on. I was like, oh, they're releasing it 3 at a time. So this has been an absolute blast. I love being able to just like binge this show in these quick 3 little episode buckets, get a big cliffhanger to wait on for a week, converse with your friends about it, do a podcast even, and share your thoughts. And I think the format's been really working well. The show always is. It's unbelievable how much the show still surprises me with its twists, its turns. It's always zagging when people want to be zigging. And I can't give it enough praise, man. This show just gets better and better. And I'm fully prepared to say that this is going to be a top show by the end of its completion. So, B-Toms, Paul, if you guys want to give your 2 cents on those episodes really quickly, we'll go ahead and get into our coverage.
Yeah. So I think the best part about the show is how hard it hits each emotion and how many emotions it hits. I mean, when that fight scene starts and the music starts, like that, I get so hype, and not even just a little bit. I get like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
stand up off my couch, and
absolutely.
when the sad scenes hit, they are such good writers that they make you feel so sad. And when the happy scenes happen, you feel so happy. So it's not only hitting a lot of emotions, it's hitting them really hard. And that's just a tribute to the writing and how good of the episodes they schedule and piece together, and how they always kind of merge them to a climax. And it's the episodes 3 and 6, just the fact that they could be season finales,
Oh,
with
yeah.
how much rewarding reveals they have, and scenes, it's absolutely incredible. So this show is just top tier.
Yeah, Kathleen, who was another host, if this is the only show you've listened to, but Kathleen texted us saying, this show makes me feel things, man. Other shows have to take notes. So completely saying what you were just talking about, Paul, but I have IMDb up right here. And for episodes 4, 5, and 6, the IMDb ratings are 9.3, 9.6, and 9.8 respectively. Anything above a 9 is great top tier television, and these are multiple decimal points above a 9. So we're dealing with clearly just a very, very good show here. You were comparing it to Avatar, which is probably my favorite animated show of all time. I'm
Which
not
also
sure
was getting about like 9s in its peak and things like that
yeah.
as well. So definitely.
With 2 seasons, I'm not sure this is going to have the longevity to usurp Avatar, but you're absolutely right. It's right there. This is just such a good show. And my whole thing is that this show, at any given time, any episode you're watching, it has no less than 3 storylines that are really separate from each other that I am all in on independently. And then the special sauce of the show is that it always finds a way. And Paul, you were kind of saying, to build to a climax and weave these 3 independent storylines that I am so invested in together and have them cross paths in a satisfactory way. And it's just unbelievable storytelling. It really is. And like I was saying in our last recording, it does all the fundamental things of an animated show right. The animation style is fantastic. The voice acting, everything is great. The sound mixing, the soundtrack in the background. It's really difficult to poke holes with this show. And in Act 2 here, the 4, 5, and 6, I think we're dealing with much of the same.
It's so crazy that we're already at 9.3, 9.6, 9.8. It's just, we're leading up to what should be just a phenomenal finale. And I truly do believe that Arcane is going to nail it. I've questioned it in the past, and I'm at the point where I should no longer be questioning this. This show just does what it does perfectly. There's no other show like it out there. So I know if you're listening, you're definitely watching along with us. But for some reason, if you're listening and you're not watching, I implore you, please go check out this show. This is just you can't miss this kind of stuff. But anyway, to get into our actual episode coverage of this, how we're going to be breaking this down is we're just going to be talking episode by episode and in character buckets. So episode 4, we have a couple Caitlyn scenes and mixed in with a lot of Jinx scenes. So we'll be covering that. Episode 5, we have some V and Bessa and Mel stuff, and then 6, so on and so forth. That's how we're going to be covering it. And what a way to get back into the break or after the week-long hiatus with our girl Caitlyn betting with another woman, Officer Maddie Nolan. This was just heartbreaking, man. I can't believe this is how they're going to open us up. So we're led to believe that there has been a little bit of a time skip after the events of episode 3. We're not sure exactly how much time has passed, but clearly enough time has passed for Caitlyn to feel like she can move on and find another lover. I was furious. I know everyone on the podcast listening heard me last week say how much I am rooting for Vi and Caitlyn to be the next power couple. And we open up with this bullshit. So what were your guys' thoughts on that?
Certainly not fury. I mean, it's understandable. Maddie is a sweet girl. She's an enforcer, so she has that military mind, thinks that way, same as Kate. And I would classify it as a safe rebound, something Kate might feel comfortable with. Vi bringing all her instability and baggage. Maybe Kate craved that little bit more stability. So I don't fault her, but did it pain me to see her with any other woman other than Vi? Of course it did. Of course it did. And it just hurt.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Dave. I was furious. I was so
fury.
I was like,
Rampage.
What are you doing, Kate? Like, obviously you and Vi are supposed to be together. That's come on. Everybody in the world is rooting for you guys. We just got you guys making out last episode, and now you're gonna like
they give us the kiss and then this. Yeah, right. Yeah. Come on.
My note was literally just so beat that this is how it opens up, and this is where Caitlyn is. So I'm with you though, Brian. After the emotion settles, I get it. But even like she's not about it. Like Maddie's trying to like kiss up on her neck afterwards, and she's like, "You're distracting me from Jinx."
She's still thinking about Jinx. She's still thinking about Vi. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But after we get that shocker of a reveal, we do see that Caitlyn is still meeting with Mbessa, obviously, and we find out that Mbessa is kind of freaking out over about the people that have gone missing. So people like Jace, people like Heimerdinger. Those are these scientists that have been working for Piltover. They've all mysteriously vanished, and Mbessa is under the guise that it is all because of the Black Rose. She does not know that they're all still in Piltover doing their own little side quests, and they've kind of just abandoned Piltover. But Mbessa is a little worried here, and we can see that communication through Caitlyn, and they've also declared martial law upon the Undercity. So there are enforcers keeping the streets clean, if you want to say that, for the Undercity, and just keeping a watch over everything that happens.
Yeah, and that's probably the main thing about the time skip that happened between episode 3 and 4 is Piltover, Noxians, Mbessa, and Kate have had time to really fully occupy Zaun. And there we have kind of these uprisings of what becomes known as the Jinxers, the people dyeing their hair blue in honor of Jinx, obviously, and kind of just the leftovers of Silco's minions or underlings, whatever. They're all just kind of protesting in their own way. So tensions are high.
Mm-hmm. And that's really all there is to Caitlyn's storyline for this episode, at least. We can just move right on into the thick of it. We can get into the Jinx storyline. And here we can see how the time skip, I'm saying time skip, but I don't know how much actual time has passed, but regardless, we can see how the relationship between her and the silent girl, Isha, we come to find out her name is, and how that has been developing over the days. We see that Isha has really modeled herself after Jinx. She has the whole braids ordeal. She dyes her hair blue. She's even causing a little stirring of the pot at certain places really quickly. We do see that there is one of these topside checkpoints going on at the Undercity. A bunch of bombs start going off, and we're led to believe that it's all Jinx, but a quick flash shows us that it's actually Isha performing all these tasks under the guise of it being Jinx. And this has allowed Jinx to indirectly accrue a huge following that she's, in a conversation that she has with Savika, is not really too accepting of. She seems to just want to curl into her lab and not really focus on the politics of what's going on in the outside world. But Isha is the one trying to rally the troops, bring that moral support to the Undercity, and see if she can also in herself kind of push Jinx to do a little bit more interactions.
Well, Isha, and let's not forget, Savika is the real adult kind of pushing her towards that. And once Isha makes that appearance with the blue hair and the hood, you know, Jinx has become a symbol bigger than the actual person of Jinx. She represents all of Zaun and kind of the protest against the occupation and all that. So there really is no organized resistance without Jinx actually being a part of it. And that's kind of what Savika comes and says. It's like, yo, some bad stuff is happening. I know you kind of have a good thing going here. I think Jinx even says out loud, Jinx is dead. Like, no more. I'm leaving that life behind me. But Savika's like, yo, listen, we're having this rally at the Vander statue. Maybe you should show up.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if I'm Jinx, I kind of get it. Like, why would you want to go out there and just be a target again? Because, like, I don't know, by going out there and being a symbol, isn't she like almost making it worse? She's gonna like make them fight and like die. I guess that's better than like just being like completely dominated by Mbessa and like her army. But I don't know. To me, it's also, I didn't really understand what Savika wanted her to do. I know she said go out there and be a symbol and inspire people, but I guess just inspire them to fight against Mbessa and everything. But my only other note from that conversation up there on the fan, which is just like the coolest hideout, it's up there. Nobody's ever gonna find it.
Yeah.
But Savika's like, yeah, like, come on, you're a symbol. And Jinx is like, you want a symbol? And she tries to give her the finger, but it's just gone, shot off from Caitlyn.
Yeah. I like how you brought up the quote too, B Toms, that Jinx says Jinx is dead, because we've definitely seen her in season 1 admit that Powder is dead, but we know that's not really the case. And as we see throughout these episodes, Jinx and Powder are still, I think, vying for that control over Jinx, you know, so to say. So I think that was a really important quote because of how she's flipped from saying Powder is dead to now Jinx is dead. But like you guys had said, Savika is rallying the troops. We see a quick shot of Singed, of course, appearing in the crowds. So you know something weird is going to be happening here. But immediately the chaos ensues by topside enforcers making their way down and raiding the whole the rally. They start taking prisoners, and we see that Isha gets captured as well as Singed, who, while in his capture, is letting out little drops of blood on the ground, which at the time didn't seem too important, but
it always seemed very important.
Oh, it's always important with this show. It's always important.
I just gotta say, Rictus has been taking lessons from the Night King, dude, whipping that spear from a football field away and just cutting off Savika's arm, which she just got. I was pissed that Savika lost her robot arm.
Yeah, and we do see that is the same robot arm that Jinx gave her. She could have easily moved on from it in this time. She's probably made some upgrades to it, but it was heartwarming to see, which is a weird word to choose here, but it was heartwarming because that just shows that Savika is obviously now friends with Jinx. Like, they've definitely squashed whatever beef they've had in the past, and she wears this arm as like a monument to their friendship to me almost. Yeah. So I love it.
Yeah, that's not the first time Rictus has thrown that javelin either. He did it in the first episode and staved them through the thugs and everything like that. So that was just awesome. I hate him, but love him as a fighter because he's a badass.
He's a loyal one too. Like, if you're building an army, you definitely want a guy like Rictus on your side, but to be on the other side of that, I don't fuck with Rictus. I would definitely hate him.
Well, point being, though, Rictus comes with all the Noxians, breaks up the rally, but not only that, they arrest the majority of the people there, and they shuttle them off to the prison that we saw in season 1 that Vi was in. I feel like it does have a name. The name is escaping me. Either of you have it?
Cell block C. That's all I know.
There you go. They take them all to cell block C, but we see like the same prison guard that processes people later. And Singe is sitting right next to Isha in the shuttle and it's like, hey, wink, wink, we're not going to be here long. That was a cool little thing. But that leads us to this kind of Sevika and Jinx breakout scene. And I love their banter back and forth. Sevika, obviously, like, I don't know,
grounded,
the person, grounded,
serious.
And Jinx just being Jinx, like messing around the entire time. I love those two together, but it was a cool kind of not heist scene, but them infiltrating. And the moment where like they kind of cross paths with Ambessa while they're trying to infiltrate, I was like, oh my
heart was racing. I really thought Ambessa was going to see that sliver of blue hair and be like, just by any chance, you mind taking off that mask real quick? I should have taken her shot with it. Why not?
Yeah, she realized it later. I mean, I think
I think she processed it a little too late. Yeah.
But
right when she processes it is when the werewolf freaking comes.
Yeah.
That was
go ahead, Paul.
Just intimidating and insane. But wasn't that whole scene like reminiscent of Avatar? Like when they're
Zuko and Sokka have to go. Oh, absolutely. So I'm glad I brought up Avatar in the opening scene then. This is great.
Yeah. That like shuttle comes out. Emily was like the whole time. She was like, this is from Avatar. But right before all that happened, when they're going to Enforcer to steal their armor uniform to go in, do the whole prisoner aspect of it, which I just think of Star Wars with, Han and Chewie and Stormtrooper, but it's in a million things. But
specifically the Family Guy version when Peter is just too fat for his Stormtrooper outfit.
Yes, exactly. Jinx is just way too skinny. But she's just like jumps out. She's like, I'm here, the person you've been searching for, right in front of you. And the Force is like, what the fuck are you talking about? I just thought that was brilliant because the Enforcer's like an idiot. And Jinx is like, dude, I'm right here. You've been searching for me. And you like the worst Enforcer of all time.
Like my business card's right behind you.
Even when they're on the gondola, she gives the one Enforcer the finger and it's got the little blue smiley face on like her fingertip. It's just, she's so unapologetically Jinx at all times. And I just love the character.
Dude, Ella Purnell should sign up to be her for the rest of her life. I just don't. It's just unbelievable. This and Fallout, Ella Purnell, you must just keep a lockdown on. But absolutely, this is where Sevika and Jinx go and rescue all of the Jinxers, the goons, I think, as Sevika called them, and all the people that are just Zonites, all the Zonites there. And as Paul also said, we get the werewolf arriving at cell block C. Post up and then we get an amazing battle. I mean, the animation is just so top tier because it's what you guys were saying at the beginning of the pod. Like, I feel like we get the music and we get everything, but everything just works so well. The animation is like so dark and mysterious, and the music's just kind of, the intensity's picking up a little bit, and you see the look in Ambessa's eyes as she dons the mask. It's everything is just always so perfect for these hype moments. And it's like you say, Paul, like I'm literally just standing like bring it on. Like, you want to come at me? Like, come at me, And this was just an amazing battle, man. So good.
I don't know if it's like the animation style, but I feel like each character has so much expression on their face that it feels like it's real acting because you can just read so much. Like when Jace is fucking just looking in the camera like exhausted and fucking like crazy, like you can just feel that he's been through so much.
I saw a video on Twitter, hopefully I can find it, I'll send it to you, but they have done like multiple takes with multiple actors like physically acting out all of these scenes, even down to the facial expressions, just to give to the animators so that they have like a realistic human counterpart to go off of. It's what I'm emphasizing is the attention to detail that goes into this so that they can achieve the stuff like Paul, you were just saying, the facial expressions, everything. Just bravo, Netflix. This is one of those moments I just want to gush about how good this show is.
Mhm.
Yeah, so good. And just the build up to this fight, it was happening for like almost like a minute and a half, 2 minutes at this point from when you see the visions, you know it's coming. But when Jinx tells Savika to get Isha out of there, and
Mhm.
Savika's like, "You really are," and Jinx finishes it like a big fat hero, and she goes on to just 1v1 this beast. It is insane, like you guys are saying. The animation, the skips, the free. It's almost like the 300 freeze frame rotate around.
Mhm.
It's
Yes.
brilliant.
I love how they've been kind of doing like that Dragon Ball Z vanish kind of speed thing that they've been doing with Jinx. Like Jinx has been kind of like, you
Yeah,
know
the
that like
shimmer.
when
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's like the shimmer or the whatever they call it from One Piece too. It's like that teleportation almost. Like I love how they've been
Mhm.
adding that to her to like kind of emphasize that Jinx is very like elusive and quick. But man, this scene hits so hard because as Jinx is battling with this werewolf, we get to a point where the werewolf is grabbing Jinx by the arm, notices the contraption that is in Jinx's hand, and the memories start pouring back, and we get the reveal. Not specifically here, I guess, but the werewolf Warwick, which we should be saying Warwick,
Yeah.
has powder as he looks at Jinx's face, and obviously that's got to be Vanderman. And I'm honestly a little pissed that I brought it up last episode because I didn't like part of me didn't want it to be true. Like I wanted that surprise still. So I was a little bit upset that I had read that people were already saying that it was going to be Vander. And I did bring it up on the podcast, which I kind of regretted a little bit because I didn't want to plant that seed, for it to be revealed this
Mm.
episode. I'm sorry to anyone who got that ruined or feels like it didn't hit as hard because of it, but I still, at the end of the day, it was an incredible moment. Just how his eyes flash from red to the like green and blue.
In your defense, you were theorizing because, like we said in the last recording, we don't know the lore. I think anybody who's played League of Legends would have connected that dot
Mhm.
episodes ago, but you were genuinely theorizing. I'm seeing it might be, the werewolf Warwick might be Vander, whatever. So, I'll defend you there. But no, it was it drops like a ton of bricks. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it's Vander. This is going
Throw
to be a
another
whole
wrench
thing.
into it all.
I
Yeah, the
love
whole
it.
thing.
And also, like, even in defeat, like when Warwick has her pinned to the wall, like de-weapon, she's just like, all right, furball, you
Yeah.
got me. Like, just make it quick.
Yeah.
She's just, like I said,
Mm.
unapologetically Jinx.
The Jinx flare is some of the best ever. Just I want Jinx flare on like my room. I want it everywhere, man. That that pink and baby blue goes so hard. But go ahead, Paul.
In defense of you bringing up that theory, last episode, I was watching it with Emily, and I was like, they theorized this was Vander, and we were watching the visions, like as he's like tracking the blood and then attacking, and then I'm like, this isn't him. This is an animal. Like this is
Mhm.
100% not him.
Beast.
And then he like slows down a little bit, and we were like, is it him?
Yeah.
And then we got all excited. We were like, is it him? And then we were like, no, it's not him. He's gonna kill her. And we were
He's
like, he's
beating
not gonna
ass. Yeah.
kill her. Is it him? So I
Yeah.
loved it because we were able to juggle that feeling back and forth. And then the reveal with powder, it was great. Loved it.
Oh,
And
I'm
Dave,
having chills right now, man. That was such a good scene.
Dave, I was like 99% sure it is named Warwick. Did they name drop
Mm.
that in the show? I know Warwick is a playable champion in League of Legends.
Really?
I honestly, yeah,
Yeah.
Warwick is definitely, and I think actually the funny thing about Warwick's lore is what makes the show even better is I'm pretty sure League of Legends there is actually no lore for Warwick in the game. Like if you pull up his
Hmm.
lore, his information in the game, I'm pretty sure all it says is has a tragic backstory or something like that. And it's been like that for like so long. And even though as people who haven't played that game, even for me, that feels so rewarding for people who have been maining Warwick for all these years, not knowing a thing
Yeah.
about his backstory, to be able to see it on screen and be like, holy shit, like I don't know if Vander's a playable character, but to be able to be like, holy shit, that Vander and Warwick are the same fucking person. Like that's got to be such an amazing moment for all those people who have like potentially seen this coming, played the game. I think they did this so well.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I looked it up. Jinx is usable in the meta. Vi is not meta right now.
Sounds about right, because Vi's
Yeah.
going through some emotional baggage right now. Jinx is living her full life, so she's got to be S tier.
I
But
think
yeah, go
the
ahead.
only other thing in that episode that we kind of got was just Sallow being depressed on the couch.
Yes.
Les was like doing the tattoo shimmer on his legs. And then Les kind of brings up, hey, I heard there's this miracle man that can perform miracles and heal people. So maybe go check him out. And that's kind of all we got was just that little tease, which leads to a ridiculous reveal next episode.
And let's
Which
just get
is called, Dave, Blisters and Bedrock. So
of
if
course,
that
I
just
should have
doesn't make you
guessed that one. Yeah.
it makes you feel.
Oh yeah.
I know we said it in part 1. Did we say episode 4 in part 2? By the way, if you ever start a podcast, hit the record button. Episode 4 named Paint
me.
the Town Blue. Episode 5, Blisters and Bedrock.
Oh, what an I'm getting a tear right now on podcast right now. But let's get into it. Episode 5. We'll just cover the Vi stuff really quickly because honestly, it's not much. So we get a new alternate skin for Vi. She is now full on American Idiot, Green Day, grunge Vi here. And honestly, I'm digging it. I kind of like the black hair. Obviously, the red's more iconic and more memorable, but I do love this alternate look from Vi here. And she's kicking ass in the Undercity, I guess. She's just doing like these random boxing matches, a way for her to get her anger out while make money in order to drink herself to sleep at night, is how I took it almost.
She's going through her pit fighter.
Yeah,
era.
absolutely. Yeah.
Everyone has one in these shows, you know? Everybody has a pit fighter era, and this is Vi's. And she's not alone. She brought the big guy enforcer, who someone on Twitter said his name is Loris. I still don't think they've said it, but we're going to call him Loris, aka the big guy. And that same tweet said, has there ever been a less important character in any show than Loris? Because this dude is just around.
I know. And I said he's going to have a big reveal coming up, and it's just nothing.
Hey, he might still in Act 3. I can't say anything bad about him. He's just been there.
He's just Silco's guy, and now he's doing his own thing. He's looking for a purpose like Vi.
I don't even think he was Silco's guy. I think he was just a rando.
I don't think. Nah, he just showed up with
that just got on the strike force because he threw up a shield to save when everybody attacked, and they were like, fuck it, come join the squad. Here's a badge.
And the great part about this too is I feel like we get thrown right into the action. So Vi is taking a little breaker between matches, and we get an appearance from Jinx, who, I'm going to be honest, I saw Jinx and Vi like immediately on screen. I was like, Vi's having a vision. She's a drunk. She has no idea what she's seeing right now. This is just a hallucination. She grabs her and throws her to the wall. I'm like, this is a little real. I don't think this is just a hallucination. I was not expecting this reunion to come this quickly, but because we got it, I wasn't going to complain. Like, it was tense. It was everything you wanted out of them seeing each other after them just kicking each other's butts in episode 3. You know,
it
was tense.
It was very tense. I had the exact same thoughts. We were like, holy shit, is like that actually Jinx? Is she actually there? And then like the long ponytail kind of like swings over her Vi's unconscious body. And we're like, holy shit, that is her. And I mean, again, classic Jinx banter, like looking good, sis. And then all of a sudden in the mirror, like she's trying to do the Vi thing, but
With
she
Jinx?
does Jinx. But it's backwards because she's writing it in the mirror. So when you're looking at it, it's like, what the fuck is that on her face?
Which again played me into thinking this has got to be a hallucination. Like, no one does that, but absolutely Jinx would do that.
So yeah, it was amazing. And as soon as she brought up Vander, she was like, fuck that, I'm not falling for your lies. And then like a shimmer tear kind of popped out. I don't know if that was supposed to be anything like
from Vi or from Jinx.
From Jinx, and that's why like Vi kind of dropped her. I don't know if that meant anything or if she just recognized that Jinx was actually tearing up. So she's like, "Oh fuck it, like that's not something she would normally do. Maybe I'll let her go."
I think you're right. I think the tear probably would have kicked in to Vi, like seeing Powder and then kind of having that little bit of faith in Powder to trust what she says here, not to take it as what Jinx is saying. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Vi definitely had her guard up and all of her walls were built up, whatever. So she was always going to meet any form of Jinx with hostility. The longer that interaction went on, the more genuine powder of it all kind of started bleeding through. Like you would be able to tell really quickly, oh, this is just Jinx trying to mess with me. And she was not
Right.
on that business.
Absolutely.
It's Dave, I completely agree. Like the pacing, I was like, oh my gosh, are we doing this? Is Jinx back with Vi? Like, this is the reunion right here. But it also makes sense because it's kind of the realization of where else are either of them going to go? Vi obviously is just drinking herself into a stupor, and Jinx has
Just
nothing. I
found her
mean,
dad. Just found their dad alive, who they
yeah,
thought was dead. You know.
I was surprised that it happened so quick, but at the same time, it made total sense. And I just want to acknowledge kind of the role reversal specifically of Jinx, but I guess the flip flop of Vi and Jinx for the better
Wow.
part of a season and a half. Vi was kind of the
The mother,
wholesome
yeah,
side
motherly
of
figure.
justice, the big sister, kind of the I'm not going to call either of them do-gooders, but between the two of them, she
Right.
was the
Yeah.
more righteous of the two. And now over the course of like the past episode and a half, 2 episodes, Jinx has taken on that role. She is the
Mhm.
one fighting the oppressors, and I can extrapolate it to the powers that be in Piltover. They are full on the oppressors and not doing what is right just from a humanitarian perspective. Like Ambessa does not have them doing what you would think a utopian society should be doing and undermining kind of the Zonites, whatever it may be. So kind of this whole role reversal, but specifically to Jinx. She used to just be crazy anarchy Jinx, and now she is the one that is locked in and trying to make their circumstances better. So I just want to applaud the show for just kind of doing that because it didn't even hit me until this episode. And I'm like, damn, the show did it again.
Yeah. It's just so
It
poetic,
is.
man. Amazing.
It is absolutely amazing. And I don't know what the magic is, but the magic revolves around Jinx and Vi because whenever they're on screen, I get
Yep.
so excited and I get like, I don't know, feeling I don't get from any of the other storylines anymore. It's just like
Even
they're
from like
so good.
real live action shows, like this is a
Mhm.
freaking cartoon bringing this out of us.
Like
It says a lot.
their next scene together, they're going down these mining tunnels. They're looking for Warwick,
Mhm.
and very quickly, I thought the fungus algae that glue when it
Mhm.
like had sound waves go through it was the coolest thing of all time, and I would not shut up about it the whole time I watched that movie. So
The
I just
occasional
had to bring it up.
clapping. Yeah.
I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I don't know why I thought that was the coolest thing I've ever
Did
seen
that
fantasy writing.
also remind us of Avatar? Maybe the secret tunnel? Not exactly the clap light up, but when it goes dark,
Love, baby.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah. Love.
secret
I
tunnel.
loved
They are
it,
definitely
but
pulling from an Avatar here, 100%.
Hey,
100%.
real recognize real.
Yeah, facts, baby, facts.
The whole thing is. Go ahead, digress, Paul. You want to digress? Digress.
I want to digress right into this Vi and Jinx sibling fight. Like they're saying, Vi's saying, "Oh, without any of your gadgets, you wouldn't stand a chance. You wouldn't stand 1 second." And Jinx is throwing, "Oh, those gauntlets that you didn't even make." They called them bitch mittens, actually. And as soon as she drops them, Jinx goes over, slaps her. Oh, look at that 1 second, and then immediately they just go into pulling ponytails and sibling
Yeah.
fights. So loved it. Just love them together. The whole banter
Mhm.
was amazing.
They had to air the dirty laundry. It wasn't 100% mended, but that was as good a start as they were going to get. And the episode and the next episode progressed. Like it was the perfect reconciliation for these two estranged sisters.
Isha
Uh,
jumping in, just biting right away. She's like, "Yeah, fuck you. I'm Jinx till I die."
Dude, she rides or dies, man. I love it.
and then of course, when Isha takes a little accidental shot to the chops, that's what cuts the fight there. Again, portraying Jinx as that older sister figure now that B Toms was alluding to. And while they're reconciliating this whole debacle, they do hear Warwick approaching in the distance. And this is where we get sorry, I don't know if I'm skipping ahead a little bit too much, but this is where we essentially get the Vander brief backstory, which I thought was such a beautiful touch, especially bringing back the voice actors for Silco, Vander, and now we have a new character who is revealed to be Vi's mom. Which this was such a touching scene, man. They're all cheerfully celebrating the new, at least start of what's to become with Zahn. They have this whole plan mapped out. Everything seems to be going great. Silco and Vander are boys here. Everything is at its peak. And this was just a really touching scene. One thing that I might have missed, and it's embarrassing to say, did she say who the father was? She kind of just dusted it aside, or were we led to believe it was Vander? Like,
No, it was a guy.
it was just
Connell.
literally said just a random guy.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, that's right. Again, and we'll pencil that name because I don't know if that'll be a name that'll come up in the future. Who knows? But we see
body, if that helps.
Yeah, true. But this was just a great scene, man. Seeing Silco without the scar, just in his true form, and then all being able to share this goal and of utopia was just really heartwarming to see, because we had only ever gotten glimpses of Vander and Silco's interactions back in these days, if at all, if any, and it was mostly just the hatred that we saw between them. So getting this moment of like clarity between them, a true look into their actual friendship, was really good.
The farthest back we had seen from that relationship was literally Vander trying to drown Silco and Silco driving
Fighting
a dagger into his ribs. Understandably so. So this added so much context. We knew there was a backstory there. They referenced each other as brothers, but this was so necessary, and we kind of skipped over it. There was a scene where they go to a room in the mines and they find a note that Vander had written intended for Silco, essentially saying, "Hey, I'm sorry for everything. I would love to talk to you. I tried to find you, but I couldn't. I just want to acknowledge there was foul play on both sides. Like, I know I'm not innocent in all this, and I was completely wrong for lashing out." And Vi and Jinx both just kind of look at it, take a step back, and are like, "Oh my gosh, could you imagine how different everything could have been if Silco and Vander were able to have this reconciliation?" But the biggest wrinkle I think the flashback adds to this story is it makes so much sense now why Silco, right when he found Jinx as I guess an orphan after the explosion that quote killed Vander, why he just dropped everything and was like, "Yes, Jinx, you are mine now. Like you I'm dropping everything. You are now my adoptive daughter." I always assumed Vander was just a good guy. He was very charismatic, like very pro Zahn. So of course he would take in these two children, but it never 100% made sense why Silco was so drawn and committed to saving Jinx and protecting her. And this backstory, just those three in the bar and the connection to the mother, Felicia, it was this show. This stinking show.
You just totally made that click in my head. I didn't realize that ever. Like either. I guess I never really thought about it. I thought, Silco was just a father figure, but holy shit, you're totally right. Because we don't know exactly what happens, but like in that letter that Vander left, Vander was saying when she died, Felicia, I assume, like I lost my head. And I know that Felicia has this Connell guy who is the father, but it feels like Vander and Silco especially, almost like looks at her with this like loving eyes. So I was picking that up. Maybe I'm making that up. Silco seemed to be in love with her, and that would just make so much sense because it's like freaking Snape and Harry Potter. It's like the person he loved died, and he's just like, I guess, looking out for the child in a weird, loving way.
Yeah, I'm literally just getting chills from you guys talking because this is just all great information and great comparisons. I just never thought that we would, especially again, the voice actors, I never thought we would hear Silco's voice again, or at least, get a lo and behold in a whole scene like something like this. And yeah, the whole thing, it really resonates. You could see also in Felicia's like her hair, you could see a little bit of the Vi style, but then the color was obviously powder. Like they did a really good job.
She had purple hair. What do red and blue mix to make?
Well, I'm
Are
just
you
saying,
kidding
like
me?
the style was that of Vi's, but then the color was
sure.
more so of Powder's. But yeah, I mean, the attention to the detail here was just incredible. And
to just to go back to Warwick, like running around attacking them, I think they did such a good job showing the chaos like in his head when he's looking at Isha and he's like seeing powder, but then he sees the blood and everything goes all red, and then he looks over and sees Jinx, and they just did a fantastic job showing the battle that he is going through in that head. And then yeah, the whole thing happens because Vi finally, after fighting off this thing, is like, fine, I'm lower my guard, and screams Vander. That triggers a flashback, and then the suspense of what happened and Jinx with the lighter leading up to them hugging. And Vi's just like, what are you waiting for?
Get in here.
He's your dad too. Dude, and
Tears.
the music's playing. It was so good. It was so beautiful.
I was feeling myself in that scene. Absolutely. Because then then you're asking yourself, like, are we fully squashed on the beef here? Like, obviously not, but this is such, B Toms had already said that the little pretensive fight that they just had got out probably a lot of the heat that they were feeling. And then we get this full reveal of everyone's on the same page that, holy shit, Warwick is Vander. Like, that's our father. We need to help him. To be able to just unify and not really even say anything besides like, get in here for a hug to squash all that beef was so incredible.
Just the last thing is that it was Felicia. I think they were already planning on doing it anyway, but she is the one that kind of commits Vander and Silco. She's like, hey, I'm bringing a daughter into this world. You guys have to come through with this Zon thing because I don't want to raise a kid in the Undercity and the Fissures. Like, this place is a crap hole. You got to clean it up. Like, your vision for what Zon could be, you got to make it happen. So that's just another layer of why both of them went so hard to see out their vision for Zon. I just think this 1 5-minute flashback was everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God.
I mean, yeah, we turned a 5-minute scene into probably our biggest discussion of the podcast, but that just the attention to detail the show's putting in, that we just have to break it all down. But that's pretty going to be it for the Jinx and Vi storyline in episode 5. We'll just quickly talk about the Ambessa, Kate, and Singh storyline here, where Singh has been captured essentially. I'm not sure under the pretenses of letting the beast out. I think they already kind of assumed that he was the one that summoned the beast there. They did interrogate him and mention that. But they're looking to strike a deal with Singh. Actually, they aren't looking to arrest him.
Ambessa is at least.
Or, sorry, Ambessa definitely specifically is looking to strike a deal with Singh, offering his freedom for his loyalty. If he does what she says, she won't kill him, essentially. And she is offering the ability to allow Singh to do all of his research with no, monetary issues. He can do whatever, no moral issues, whatever. She's just saying you can go all out. And we do also get a brief look at why he's doing all this. It's because he's trying to restore the life of his loved one, who, not sure how long she's passed away for, but he's been preserving her for a moment to bring her back to life.
It's alluded to that Ambessa wants to turn Warwick into a weapon that she can control. And that's kind of the deal. I'll give you everything you need for your research. I'll treat you as an esteemed guest, but you have to be loyal to me unconditionally.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny. It was a little damning that, all of the wreckage of Warwick attacking the prison is cleared out, and then it's just like Singe still in his cell, like all on his lonesome. It's like, I wonder who was behind this attack.
He's
the creepy
plotting,
guy still in the cell.
Yeah, he was plotting this whole thing, obviously.
That's what I was going to ask. Was he waiting then? He was waiting to get captured. Like, I didn't really understand what was happening, but I know as soon as Ambessa approaches his cell, he's smart enough to say, oh, like, I was waiting for you. I recognized the look in your eyes. You wanted that weapon that I had.
I think
like,
he
I didn't
planned
know
all this. Like, I think when he got arrested and when everyone was freed, he had no intention of leaving until he was face to face with Mbessa, because I think he knows that she's one of the few people that can just offer all of the resources that can fulfill his needs in order to complete his mission.
And Bessa just being smart, like giving him back his little pocket watch that he actually cared about.
Yeah.
And as Brian said, like she said, you'll be treated as an esteemed advisor. Like that is not tossed around to everybody. So if I was Singed, I'd be like, hell yeah, fuck yeah. I mean, if this was his plan all along too, then he's like, wow, I just played you like a book.
And she had the option for violence. I mean, she saw the locket as well as the needle, which there was, I guess, a brief second where she was considering picking that up. But I think because of what you're saying, Paul, like her ability to just dissect a room and just understand people, I think she immediately knew that the pocket watch was going to be something that was going to be something that would allow her to get more information out of him versus just brute force.
Also, kind of just my last thoughts. Kate reveals that he was once an esteemed alchemist at Piltover's Academy, and that he was also the creator of Shimmer, which I guess we should have known, because in season 1, he was really the only one in the early goings that knew how to manipulate it and use it, etc., etc.
Silco was definitely the one pushing him to. I mean, he wanted to create Shimmer, obviously, because it would help. He thinks it can help restore the love of his life. But Silco, I think, was also pushing on to him to do it quicker, to just have him get that army that he so desperately needed to conquer Topside. But
Caitlyn and her family archives are way cooler than I ever thought they initially would be. I like when we kind of saw her going through in the beginning, we were like, it's the internet. But when you think about it, it's literally, she has access to so much information that nobody else probably has. Like that's probably what makes her so powerful and so smart, and in this seat of power, because of the information that she can hold it with. So
that's a good call. I didn't even think about the vault was the reason why she knew all that information in the first place about saying, but even half of it was missing too. Didn't she say, like, we don't know why you left, we just know that you did, I think that's what she was saying too. So I feel like there might be some more, we might be in line for some more singed backstory in the future, potentially, like make us really feel the attachment that he has to his wife and everything, before crushing us devastatingly, I bet.
Was it his wife or his daughter?
I thought it was his wife, but I truly had no idea.
I think he uses the word "my beloved," so I was striking a love interest, not a daughter.
Gotcha. Maybe I just thought she was small and assumed she was a child, but totally could be either. Either works too. So,
all right, let's get into some other juicy storylines here with Mel and her whole Black Rose escapade. So we get the same kind of trippy transportation expo that we saw from episode 3. It was when Mel was being kidnapped by the Black Rose from Piltover. We kind of get a little bit more of that. We get these flashes of just events. We see someone chained up. We see other people just popping in and out of her head. We're not really too sure what to make of all of it. But when she awakes from this dream, she finds herself in a cave, but it's more of a prison of the people it's a prison of the captors that are holding her. But she meets a very familiar face in her brother, Kino, which this whole storyline was incredible for me. Like she wakes up and we're just like tossed right into this with this reveal, because while they've never said the words "your brother is dead," they've just said "your brother is no longer here," kind of like these existential wording that led us to believe one way or the other. And here we meet him after what seems like for Mel has been maybe a decade at least, if not more, and she's just now meeting her brother. Like, this was a crazy reveal to have, at least in the moment, seeing the reveal of it being the brother, be like, holy shit, one, he's alive, and two, at the same time, holy shit, he's been captured and God knows experimented on all this whole time. And he even goes as far as to say, I've been here so long that I don't even remember who I am at all, really. So this was a great scene.
Well, it was until it wasn't, because they gave us the old 1-2 buckle my shoe and they introduced us to Kino. And then later on, we find out that it was the Black Rose, I guess, conjuring up this image of Kino to try and manipulate Mel.
It was a way to manipulate her to get the most out of her emotions so that she would unlock this power that she has been, I guess, presumed to have by her Black Rose parents or people, But that's just kind of where I was at.
Go ahead, Paul.
I had something similar in mind where like I thought it was if anybody watched Rick and Morty, I think it's like season 3 premiere, like they threw her in this like puzzle dungeon to try to get her to solve it, which would lead to whatever they were desiring in the first place. So like they were using the brother as a tool to push her along to try to solve this whatever puzzle, because the brother at one point was like, how'd you even know how to do that? And she was just like, oh, I don't know. So but exactly what you're saying, Dave, because leading to her explosion of white light in this Black Rose dungeon prison other dimension where they just bring the thorn chains out that killed Alara. Hopefully Alara's not dead. But
yeah, that's another thing. I'm not too sure about that, but we did see her absolutely get the squeeze the life out of with those Black Roses.
Yeah. I'm not holding my breath for poor Elora, unfortunately. But the one nugget of information that phony Kino tells her is that Ambessa had a love affair in like a faraway land, and that affair essentially sired a child, and fake Kino says whatever that child inherited is of great interest to our captors. And I didn't even think of this, but I think one of you two said something that alluded to, do we think Mel is that child? Because they were also like, your brother, we thought he had the goods, but then we heard about this sister. So we think that she is the child. And are we to believe that the affair of Ambessa was maybe with a member of the Black Rose, and that's why she's of such interest?
That's kind of where my head is at, is that, yes, Ambessa fell in love with the wrong crowd or wrong person. She probably, Ambessa, knowing that how hot-headed she is, probably just made it a pretty dim-witted play at maybe just kind of like just taking Mel without saying anything and just running off with her, and not maybe realizing the whole importance of Mel and that person that she hooked up with or whatever. Like, I'm not sure how like romantic their affair was, but yes, I'm with you kind of now, Paul, too, that I think that they probably threw her in that puzzle dungeon, not understanding themselves what the dungeon is even for, but knowing that Mel would be the one to unlock it. So they just like kind of threw her in there, gave her like this guiding light in her brother, and we're just like, we don't know how to use this, but maybe all of this jogging of your memory will trigger you to do something. And so I'm curious to see
Rick
where
and Morty.
it goes. Yeah.
They wanted Rick to give him the space fuel formula or whatever. And
right. Yeah. So I'm with you. This is probably the biggest question mark, maybe besides Victor's storyline, that where I'm like, I'm not understanding the full picture quite yet, but they've done it purposely. It's not like they're just doing this and just like throwing information at us to just make us more confused. It is supposed to be shrouded in this mystery of like what is going on with Ambessa and the Black Rose.
Yeah, Brian, to go off what you were saying when the Black Rose voice was talking, they said we had such high hopes for him, referring to Kino.
Right.
It seemed plausible he could have been the child, but then your mother led us to you, sister. And then that's when it all blows up. So I do think that is the child that they're talking about.
Oh, so you think there's a third sibling?
No.
No, he said he thinks Mel is the one.
Okay, because the voice said sister, and I did make a note of that to say like why, because it wasn't Kino talking and saying sister, was it? Like it was a different voice that said sister, or do you think it's just like the Black Rose group of people saying like you're one of us, sister? Like a religion kind of thing.
I don't know. Could be either.
At that point, I think it was still Kino's body, so I guess it could be interpreted your way, Dave. But I took it at face value. He was still trying to keep up the ruse.
Yeah, I'm still very excited to see like we haven't really fully seen magic yet. Like we've seen hex tech and like magic kind of mixed with technology, but magic in its rawest form we have not really seen yet. So I'm very curious to see like the Black Rose and get more details about them. This father figure of Mel that is so desperate to get her back. It's another buildup of a great storyline there. And then
correct me if I'm wrong, that's the last we see of Mel in Act 2. So she is not in episode 6.
Correct.
All right. Until next time, Mel.
I got so hoodwinked here. Like, it was crazy because I was editing the last episode. We got to Mel getting abducted, like just disappearing. And I was like, oh my God, what if that's exactly what happened to her brother? And maybe her brother's not dead. So then we watched this episode and I was like, oh my God, I should have said it on the podcast.
I would have said it on the pod. No one believes you.
Smart. I would have looked so smart. And then the brother turns out not to be the brother. And I'm like, wow, I'm super glad I didn't say that on the podcast.
But the last story we have here of episode 5 is going to be the Jace storyline, which is very quick and also very confusing, but certainly very spicy content. So Salo appears at the core already appearing to be fully healed because he's walking, and we see the glistening shimmer streaks. Like, you know, it's kind of how, it's Victor's hex core, whatever. And this is just such a wild scene because it's Salo meeting Jace, who has just seemingly appeared out of the blue of whatever wormhole space dimension the hex core drove him to. Go ahead, Paul. I already wanted to have you speak because I'm not too sure where that was.
So on the second rewatch, I kind of saw that Salo is in the physical place where Echo, Heimerdinger, and Jace went down. But when all of a sudden, like, the Salo kind of like turns around and he gets transferred to this white plane that they're on, like he's no longer in the dungeon surroundings, and that's when Jace jumps out. So I don't know if Salo like sensed something, jumped to that dimension, and Jace somehow was able to find his way into that white surrounding dimension. And then later on in the conversation, something happens and Salo just kind of like puts a foot down and they're back in the dungeon. Both of them are now in the physical world. So I was going to ask you guys, do you think they actually were initially in the physical world talking, or I thought they were in this wild rune plane during this whole discussion, and then Jace was brought into the real world by Salo / Victor?
I took it as Salo was kind of always in the real physical world, and whenever he took, like, let's call it the core out of the wild rune, like he takes something out of the generator or whatever and tries to leave with it, obviously. Right when he interacts with that is when Jace is kind of like spat out. I got the impression that they were only communicating once Jace left the wild rune plane, and then kind of the events of that scene unfold. And I don't think Jace had any choice in the matter. I feel like he was just, not accidentally, but he was just spat out once that interaction with the wild rune between the rune and Salo happened. He was spat out, and then everything else happened. It was a little unclear, though.
Yeah, because I mean, when you're messing with things that like even the people in the show can't even describe to you, and like we're trying to consume it as, you know, viewers, it makes it that much harder. But I agree with you that I like the term spat out because it did feel that way. Like, again, we have a time skip at the end of episode 3 into episode 4. Jace obviously has spent all of his time in this time skip in this dimension, or just because no one has seen him in the real world. And obviously when he gets spat out, like you said, B-Toms, he's full on different person almost. You know, he looks seasoned, he's got the full on beard, he looks grimy, he's got that archaic look to him, but he does come out a little bit different. And Jace, or Salo, who is also sharing a mind with Victor, it seems like Victor is able to communicate through anyone that he touches, basically. But they have their own dual personalities. Like, they're sharing a body within Salo, essentially. And Victor looks at Jace and says, "You have been touched by the Arcana now." Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is still left to be decided, because obviously the very end scene we have of Jace is him smashing Salo into bits with his hammer. And it got me really wondering, at least at this point in the story, who is the good guy here? Because there were both dark tones coming from both sides. Like, Jace seemed very convinced that the Arcana and the Hex Core are very evil, where Victor seems on the side that it can do a lot of good, even though Victor has seen the dark side of the Hex Core. So it's like, I don't know who to believe, really. Like, at this point, at least, episode 6 maybe gives you a little bit more clarity into all that. But here I was like, I genuinely have no idea who is the good guy and who is the bad guy. And I still kind of feel that way at the end of episode 6.
I'm going to go ahead and say that Jace is doing good, but it looks bad in the moment.
Mhm.
Just because also Victor also merged with the Hex Core. So, like, the Hex Core just could be running things, and Victor is just a vessel.
But Victor
and,
also says that Jace is also being manipulated by what could also be the Hex Core. So it's
well,
like,
because he was
Go
saying
ahead,
you
keep going,
touched
Paul,
it
keep going.
too. He was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
touched it too. Your
Yeah.
mind suffered." So I wonder if like the Hex Core is just controlling Victor's mind and like making sure the host
Right.
stays alive to do whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Paul, that was a great way to put it. I think Jace is doing good, but it looks bad. And I think the flip side is, I think to an extent, Victor was doing bad, but it looks good, you know,
'Cause he's
having
healing
all of
people.
these healing people, starting this utopian society, but clearly they are all like linked to his hive mind. It was kind of like, not to bring up Rick and Morty again,
I
but the
was
character
just gonna,
Unity,
yeah.
who
Yep.
takes over an entire planet, and it's like, no,
Yep.
there is order and peace. And it's like, well, you're kind of taking away their free will. That isn't kosher. I
Mhm.
guess in this sense, he's healing the Shimmer, but that's another matter. Where I'm at right now is it feels as though Victor is being influenced by kind of the hex tech, the hex core, so kind of the artificial Arcane, whereas Jace has been touched and influenced by just that pure wild rune Arcane, like the good stuff, the actual magic. So that's maybe why they're one, being influenced in different ways and it's presenting differently, but two, why they are being influenced to oppose each other.
And we do see that. I don't know if it's in this episode specifically, but we do see that Jace's, what used to be his wristband with the emerald in it, is now actually physically imbued into his skin. So the emerald is now locked into his skin rather than just being an accessory. So
And
it looks poisoned almost too. Like the veins are coming out like pretty heavily around it too. So
I would also say his hammer that was previously full on hex tech weaponry is now kind of got that wild rune turquoisey enigma going on all around it. So I mean, it's just different now. Push comes to shove, this scene ends with Jace smashing Salo like a bug, saying, "Nah, you can't leave with that generator, homeboy."
Crazy.
I'm sorry you
Crazy.
feel that way. I'm sorry too. When they just see the hammer come up from over the shoulder, it was great.
This
And
time skip has really changed a lot of people, man.
I think the only reason I'm like really riding for Jace right now is because he keeps saying like, "Oh, you gave the hex tech to the people. Why did you do that? This isn't a miracle; it's a curse." So, basically, what we were saying, it looks good, but it is actually it's
looks
leading to
bad.
something.
It looks bad, but it's leading to something good, is what you mean.
Jace is, but no, I'm talking about the hex.
Oh, you're talking about that.
Tech,
Okay, you're talking about the hex
like,
tech side of it. Victor's
yeah,
side.
and
Gotcha.
So I just love it. I need answers, and episode 6 doesn't really give us a whole bunch.
Yeah, we kind of focus on one main storyline here in episode 6, being the Jinx and Vi storyline, which obviously incredible. We might not have too much to talk about here, but what happens is Jinx and Vi and Isha, I should include her name now as well, that gang is taking the reformed Warwick, who has seemed to calm down a little bit in the presence of his two kids, not so much as violent anymore upon seeing people. They're able to actually get him to Victor's utopia. And we get a little bit of craziness here. So one, Victor already I forgot to mention this also, that Victor can like see the future almost. And that's why like a lot of what's going on makes me feel like this is all part of his plan. Like we obviously hear the assistants all the time saying, oh, Victor was expecting you. Oh, Victor knew you would come, all this stuff. And that's why at the end of this episode, I'm still kind of leaving to feel like Victor's role isn't completely finished here. We'll get there when we get there. But the main purpose here is that Jinx and Vi are trying to take Vander/Warwick to Victor so that he can cure him like how Victor has cured everyone else from the Shimmer ODing, whatever.
Yeah, Victor going under the guise of the Herald, by the way. We kind of just go to his utopian encampment that used to be the Fissures. It's this really cool scene. I appreciated that Victor saw not even the potential in Vander/Warwick, but could tell his spirit wasn't at rest. Whatever it was, he was like, no, I have to help this being. Like, it is someone in pain who doesn't want to be doing this. And Victor saw all that just by kind of interacting with him.
And the great part is of all this, I know I'm maybe jumping the gun again a little bit here, is that Victor seemingly knows that what it's going to take to cure Vander is going to also take away his abilities, or at least drain them at a significant rate, more so than the other people. So he's genuinely, and that's why I was kind of saying that at the end of episode 5, I wasn't too sure, but this to me still feels like Victor is doing good. I guess now I'm kind of remembering what actually happens at the end, and now it's like how the bodies are reacting, and it's like, I don't know, but but right now for me, I was thinking he was doing a lot of good here.
I love when Victor jumps into Warwick's mind, and it kind of shows like they're just floating through space. Speaking of, Sky is also talking to him and conversing with him.
I love that she is able to be there with him, because it allows Victor to be stable almost. Like he wouldn't be beating himself up all the time if he doesn't have Sky by his side, telling him what to do.
I also think that like Sky might not be there, and it's just the
it could also
like
manipulating
making
him, right?
Sky there, so it makes him feel comfortable. It makes him feel like he's doing the right thing. It's weird.
So I interpreted that because when Sky disappeared, died, whatever, she was absorbed into the Hex Core. My interpretation is that her spirit, her entity still exists in there, and that this is a real representation of her will, of her spirit, whatever. And now that Victor has undergone his transformation, he can kind of access that whenever he wants. So that's how I took it. I thought that actually was Sky, but that's the other side of the coin. 100%. It definitely could be the Hex Core playing tricks, but she seemed not to really be manipulating him and just kind of was playing the faithful assistant. So I took it that way.
I initially took it your way, so I could definitely, just be Sky in there. I don't know what the hell's going to happen going forward, because,
we've been talking parallels nonstop. So it is, Mel is a perfect parallel to what's going on here, because Mel is hallucinating someone that she thought was real. Victor's kind of hallucinating someone who he believes is real. What is real in this, but
that would be good too.
There is parallels, and that's another thing that the show is just so good at doing, is just keeping those parallels consistent throughout different characters and weaving them all together.
What I initially meant to say is when Victor and Sky are floating through the space that is Warwick's mind, I just love the visual representation of a bunch of faces, a bunch of different beasts, a bunch of different beings all fighting in there, messy and merged together, all blurred, no clear lines. And then buried deep in there is Vander's. It was a really cool way to show the struggle that Victor was going through to search for how to pull out Vander.
And the only person's face that I feel like he clearly sees in those moments is Ish's face, but that's because it looks so similar to the face of Powder. Because even when the Beast Warwick is visualizing Jinx and Vi, they don't even really have the faces. It's only Isha that has the face. So it's kind of like you're saying, like working down this path to slowly unlock all those images and getting those recounting of the memories to try and bring him back to himself. But you're absolutely right. Like the fact that they're wandering through also like this castle inside of Vander that is like the representation of the beast is like so
Yep.
cool too. The designs just look amazing all over the place, man.
And when he finally does get to the core of the castle, whatever it is, it's kind of like this dimly lit Vander face. And once he interacts with that, we get some more flashbacks at actually just of the good times, I guess. And we
Mhm.
see that Vander did have some time with Felicia, and I think Connell was even there too, while Powder and Vi were growing up. So
Mhm.
they kind of did get to experience that part of their young childhood, and then we know what happens to the parents, et cetera, et cetera. But
Mhm.
no, I completely agree. I love the representation.
And in that flashback memory, that whole animation style was just watercolor on canvas, which every different
So
style
cool.
has a different feeling. And this was like a
Yep.
happy back feeling. And it looked like part of it kind of looked like kid paintings with the watercolor too. So it just was really brilliant. And Dave, to your defense, this is when I finally put together that Felicia had purple hair, and
Mhm.
because it looked blue when they were like live
Yeah,
action.
yeah,
So
fair enough,
this
yeah.
one, these watercolors was like purple, blue.
Purple.
Okay, cool.
Yep,
It
makes
all
so
made
much more sense. All right, and so to spoil the fun, of course, is going to be Ambessa, who shows up with Kate, essentially finding out through seeing the location of the beast, coming back, demanding that the beast be returned to them so that they can continue working on this super soldier serum. And this is where things get a little rocky, or maybe not so in the terms of the relationship of Jinx and Vi, but Kate helps also in planning an escape for Vander and all these other people to help get out of here. And it's great to see that Kate has now fully betrayed Ambessa after we do see some really badass training scenes too, like Ambessa giving
Yeah.
Kate the biz and teaching her everything that it seems to know. But we still are on, at least personally, I'm on team. We don't fuck with Ambessa too much. So Kate betraying her and now siding back with our girls, or at least one girl, was definitely a step in the right direction for me. I thought this was an incredible scene. Obviously, the animation just always goes so hard when it's in one of these action moments.
There was a little bit of buildup I kind of want to touch on real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Victor, I'm sorry, Singed going like, oh, Victor, like he's one of my former pupils. Like, let me go speak to him. And that
Mhm.
conversation about how Victor's decaying, that was just wild to me. Victor, another pupil of this insane, dark, mysterious Singed. He's such a cool
Mhm.
character. And their
Yeah, I like them.
conversation just seemed like such high intellect conversation, talking
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
like morality and adaptation and what it
Doing
meant
things
to
in the
nature.
Yeah, doing things now for the better of the long term later. It's so
The
cool
one
because
final evolution that they're looking for is
yeah, it
just
was amazing. I loved it. The
And
it's great.
parallels.
Singe points out, Victor, as your powers right now are finite and it's being drained by helping all these people. And he suggests, let me combine the technology, the blood of Warwick, Vander, whatever, and his resilience and his cell regeneration with your hex tech abilities. And we can advance all of this. We can preserve you. And he says, I think the exact quote is, Victor, you must survive. And that is just parallels to all the way back season 1 in the cave with
Mhm.
that original salamander beast when Singe's just
Mm,
saying the DNA, the genes must survive. And it's just all coming full circle.
Yeah.
yeah.
And Victor, to his credit, says, Vander is not a specimen. He is a man, and I refuse this offer. Who am I to live at the expense of this person who I have the abilities to help? Who am
Mm.
I? And that
Mhm.
was evidence, Paul, like you were saying. I do have a feeling that Victor is at least trying to genuinely do good.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But he might
At
not
least,
know that he's yeah.
yeah. Victor is attempting to.
I
Mhm.
mean, with Victor's line there, talking about Vander and Warwick, he's saying he's a man and he needs my help. I will not sacrifice his humanity for your cause. Like that is
Mhm.
a noble thing to say. Like that is a good
Mhm.
individual right there. I feel like so. I feel like he's
Mhm.
just being led astray by the Hex Tech. And Jace is the only one that knows this. And the Hex Core, I should say, because the Hex Core is what is absorbed
like
into him.
the blue stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really love when Vi is about to eat what I don't even know exactly where it happens, but it's Warwick who comes to the rescue of Vi, and he looks at, I'm pretty sure it's Ambessa, and says, or no, it's Rectus. He looks to her and says, "Don't touch my daughter." Like, that was so fucking badass. Or I forget what
Oh,
scene
buddy,
it was.
you're getting ahead of yourself over there. But no, it is Rictus rolls up trying. Oh my god. No, you got way too ahead of yourself, because Rictus was trying to confront Kate for double crossing Ambessa.
Right.
And he gets the better of Kate, and then Jinx shows up and saves Kate, which is just like, oh my gosh, Kate having some conflicting feelings. How do I feel about Jinx? She just saved my life. And then
Maggie
Warwick steps in. Maddie. Which
Maddie
exactly,
who?
Maggie
yeah,
who.
Maddie, yeah,
I don't even
exactly.
know.
No, that only proved my point.
We cannot glance over the scene where Vi is following Singe back to the Noxian camp, and Kate just like comes down and tackles her, and they have the little
that was the
will
Ambessa,
they, won't they?
now that I'm thinking about it too, that was the move Ambessa used on Kate too during their like training little montage or whatever. She throws her over the shoulder, and it was absolutely the same move that she hit Vi with there.
And right here, Vi calls Kate Cupcake.
Game over.
Yeah,
Kate,
it was game over.
a little glimmer in her eyes, and I was like, "Oh my god! Like, you still care about me? I still care about you." And as soon as this, like, again, to mirror Savika and Jinx, prisoner in the guard, but it's all ploy. Same thing happened here. Oh, I got prisoner. Didn't fall for her for a second here. I was like, Kate would not. She just rekindled her love for Vi. She would not just throw her away to the dogs like that.
Kate wasn't vibing with the new look, though. It seemed like,
you look like a mad oil slick.
Yeah,
honestly, it was a pretty good. It was a pretty good insult.
They start flirting immediately.
Oh yeah,
the chemistry was just palpable from the first lines that they said to each other. It was lovely, and honestly, they had me in the first half. I thought that Kate was going to be loyal to Ambessa, and we would have to wait for Act 3 for them to like find their love for each other. But no, they got me. Kate would never do that to Vi. Not after that interaction. I should have known.
When she busts out of her cuffs and Ambessa's look of shock and oh my god, I'm about to get got face. I just love when Ambessa gets her just desserts and Vi standing over her. I loved the net coming out and everything and just taking her down and then, running back and whatnot. But real quick, just to talk about Singed and Ambessa. Singed told Ambessa, like, if Victor heals Vander, then everything we're working for is done because as Brian was talking about, it is Warwick's blood. The regenerative capabilities of that is what makes him so strong. It's what everybody's looking for. So that's why they're trying to stop him, which makes the end of this episode even more interesting, but we'll get there.
Speaking of the regenerative powers, I'm actually now remembering when Vi and Warwick were fighting in episode 5, does she not like punch literally like straight through him, like ripping his arm off, but it just immediately like clasped back together?
If it was that extent, but she hit him in the face and it looked like his face like split open
but then it just immediately healed again.
Yeah, and then it was back there. So I think that is what makes him so menacing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, while Vi is taking down Ambessa, Kate is going into the Utopian Victor camp with Singe under the ruse of Singe is going to, inject Warwick with something and take him back to the Noxian camp, whatever. Kate double crosses Singe, and Dave, this is where the money scene happens.
Yes.
Kate takes down Singe. Rictus comes, sees the betrayal, annihilates Kate. Jinx comes in and saves Kate's skin. And honestly, I'm going to shout out Rictus because he might be the baddest one-on-one fighter this show has shown because he's up there, takes down Kate and Jinx. Mm-hmm. But it's also, he gets the upper hand because it's confirmed his hammer that is imbued with the runes can absorb hex tech energy, absorb arcane, whatever you want to call it. So that's an awesome weapon. He gets the upper hand on Jinx, and that's where we get just Warwick. Don't touch my daughter. Are you kidding me?
He's got the clear eyes. They're not red. You know it's not the beast right there. You know it's fucking Vander. And god damn, I was crying. Maybe that I was telling Paul, I was like, why did I write chills here? That's exactly why I got chills here. Because I also think Warwick's design looks amazing. So I'm already deciding now if I were to play League of Legends, either a Victor main if he's a character, or I'm a Warwick main. I've already decided. That's where I'm going.
I like it.
Well, this scene was so good because, like, literally right after that, like, Vi runs in and they all hug and the family's all back together. And, you know, it's just there. And then that's right when we see Jace walk up to Victor. And Jace this whole time has been, like, meandering around. He almost blew up a kid. The kid led him to Victor. And he's hearing his own voice, like, reminiscing, like, remembering things that he was saying back in the day. So he's obviously, like, very fucked up in the head right now. And then when he gets to Victor looks like he's got the tubes connected, charging back up, but Jace just loads one up real quick and obliterates a giant hole through his chest. Looked amazing.
It was well done too, because this scene here and the aftermath of it, just kind of the residual arcane in the air, was what they used as the opening scene to the episode. Like, the opening scene was just a bubble of wild rune arcane, whatever. And then kind of that painted gear that Victor has been carrying rolls on the floor. And that's how it plays out here. But at the time, in the beginning of the episode, you're like, oh, I guess it's some of the Jace stuff. Maybe we're going to see Echo and Heimerdinger, but it turns out to be Victor annihilating, or Jace rather, annihilating Victor. So just claps for the show.
Mouth agape, just on the floor. I legitimately was like, what the fuck are you doing, Jace? Because I think I'm still on team. Jace is probably not the good guy here. I still want to believe Victor's the good guy, but Victor has been my ride or die since day one, so I'm always biased a little bit towards him. But I was literally I was shook. I couldn't believe what I was seeing here in terms of Jace potentially just murdered his best friend. But obviously we know, maybe not, maybe we don't know, but the Hex Core has obviously proven of feats way beyond just what normal people would think of. So I didn't want to believe right away that Victor's done, and I still am feeling that I don't think Victor's done. Maybe he still has left his mark around the town, that he's still able to do things, but I couldn't believe it, man. This was a friendship that we had loved watching in season 1. We loved seeing how it carried over into season 2, at least in terms of how it affected Jace, seeing Victor almost come close to death. We were at the peak of their friendship, and now it's like, holy shit, man, you just blew a hole through this guy's chest, and I don't know what to do.
Wow, I didn't even put this together, but what I've been saying this whole time is, Victor thinks he's doing something good, but it's actually leading to evil. That's the last line of this episode. Victor's monologue, as he has the hole blown out of his chest, is saying, I understand it now. The message hidden in the pattern. It's inescapable. Humanity, our very essence, our emotions, rage, compassion, hate, two sides of the same coin. That which inspires us to our greatest good is also the cause of our greatest evil. So it's like, holy shit, he probably realized
so
it.
We're so smart, guys.
Right as Jace kills him, he's probably thinking in his head, why did he do this? Why did he do this? And then it clicks. He's like, okay, I see it. This really was the greatest evil that I was leading us to. I don't know. I could be wrong. We'll see what happens.
But it also could be him realizing that maybe about in the vice versa way, in terms of Jace being maybe the evil one. But I still, like, as that monologue's going on, I still am thinking, like, Victor, I think, planned this, but I can't confirm that. I have no way. I feel like this is all part of his plan.
I saw an interesting theory on Twitter. Dave, I think you actually brought this up in our last recording, that kind of Victor's whole storyline there could be some time loop stuff at play here, One evidence is when Jace like took aim at Victor.
Yes,
And
the
when he
faces.
originally got absorbed, you could see multiple faces. When he first got absorbed, like he was split into it looked like he was in a mirror room. The theory poses that, okay, Jace, his character, has come to this conclusion of taking out Victor in many, many, many different timelines. So kind of they were all out of phase there, but it was still showing Jace killing Victor in many timelines. So
you're absolutely right, because when he was doing that, firing that weapon, and we saw the different like iterations of his face, I was literally thinking of Doctor Strange from Avengers when he's like doing the whole, I calculated 7 million timelines and this is the only one that worked. Like his face was doing the same kind of shit. So I was thinking the same thing there. With, I don't know if time is going to be involved somehow, but we'll see.
Well, it was a very well thought out thread. Maybe I can send it to you guys too if I can find it. But it also poses that Victor, like Dave, you speculated in the last recording, was the original rune guy. The first time we see Jace's character that teleported him and his mom out of the blizzard.
Oh my god.
And he kind of connected a lot of the dots. I can't go that deep into it right now.
I'll give the credit to Paul there. I think Paul was the one that said
pardon me.
Victor's, so that was, we're definitely getting some, I think we're definitely heading down some variation of like time travel, maybe not time travel, but like time is going to be a big factor here. Absolutely.
I'm getting lost. I'm not understanding some of the conversations they're having when they're talking about the runes. So that would make sense if time travel would get involved, because so much of that shit
just read it back to me again.
So this is the saddest part in any show I've ever seen ever, right? Like this little bit here.
This was, I was shocked. A mouth still agape from Victor with his hole in the chest, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, if you're still thinking of closing that mouth, here you go. Here's a quick little scene to keep it open."
Remember when this family was happy and all together 3 seconds ago and was hugging? Well, guess
we
what?
saw a future there.
Not anymore.
Yeah. So as Jace takes out Victor, this causes a whole trigger effect to happen with the people that Victor has, quote unquote, cured. They all are sent into a shriek. They're all shrieking. Their eyes are going white. To me, it almost looked like they were becoming like zombies almost. I'm not too entirely sure, but it was absolutely a direct effect of Victor being killed. It seems like that hive mind that we were talking about with Jace having taken out the main hive mind, seems like everyone else is now kind of crashing, but this also has affected Warwick because of how much experimentation, or rather helping, Victor has tried to do with Warwick, that I guess the Hex Core was also now fully into Warwick. And again, with Jace killing Victor, that sent all that Hex Core jumble mess inside of Vander to now be pushed out. And now he's back to almost being like full beast in this moment. And he's getting stabbed by all these enforcers. People are trying to calm him down. Nothing is getting through to him.
Fucking kills Rictus, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he
poor Rictus was the first person in his path. But no, I mean, it was terrible. And it was, once again, it was a very well shot scene. We get the overture with the quotes that Paul already gave us. Victor kind of piecing it all together. You know, it was our humanity that undermined everything we did. That's the reason the commune couldn't work and everything. Like, our humanity was inescapable. But oh my gosh, just as this plays out, it's Kate in the chaos is trying to help Vi away from Warwick, and they find each other. But Isha slips away from Jinx. Originally, when they first enter the Utopian encampment, Vi has to release her gauntlets, and if you blink, you missed it. But Isha kind of does a double take and takes kind of the hex gem, the whatever you want to call it, out of the gauntlets. So she has one in the barrel. She looks at Jinx's discarded pistol, pops that gem right in there, and slow motion, just like goes for the point blank shot at Warwick and gets it off, to her credit. But oh my gosh, just the tearjerker of just watching Jinx, who has finally found this person in her life to like bring out her own humanity, bring her back from the Jinx and maybe make her feel like a mom, like Powder, whatever you want to say. Like, oh my gosh, it was just emotional, and we
Brutal.
don't see how it ends, but presumably that was Isha's one and only salvo.
Yeah,
she looks
dude.
so badass as she's spinning. She's putting the gems in the gun, so she's cramming two in there, and she does, of course, the classic Jinx. Pew, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Don't die, man! Don't die! You're so cool. We want you to be Jinx 2.0."
And she's smiling, she's smirking too, like she's happy that she's actually helping at this point. Like Dave said, you know, with multiple gems in there, like kind of seems like it was going to cause way too big an explosion, and assumably that's why, uh, you know, she's going to explode, and nobody, no, we're not really
Yeah.
expecting to see her. But on our first recording, because we referenced this as our second attempt here, we had a little segment where we gushed about how much we appreciated Isha as a character and what
Yes, we
she
forgot to do
means
that
to
this time.
Jinx. And we didn't get to it this time, but now is a good time as ever to bring it up. She was such a good addition for Jinx because not even Jinx understood why she cared for her. She talked about it earlier this episode. Ever since you dropped into my life, it's like I've had glasses on, but I can't tell if the glasses are making everything clear or blurry. Like you're important in my life. I just don't know which side you're leading me to, right? She almost grounded Jinx, and with everything that we've seen them go through, this was just heartbreaking, especially slow motion, because Jinx knew exactly what was coming. So terrible way to go, but God, it was cool. And the animation, and it was the build up to it as this is going in slow motion really just tears at your heart.
Yeah, if they're gonna tear my heart out, it better be at least in a way that's gonna be totally badass. And boy, Isha definitely did so. I mean, I said it too, I guess, on part one of this recording, take one of this recording, that she fell on top of Jinx, and Jinx saved her in whatever episode that was, two or two, maybe one even. And Jinx walks off into the distance, and you kind of just think Isha might just like walk away, taking in kind of what she saw, but no, she chooses to follow. And I didn't think of her as a character that would get to this point. And again, she's mute. She doesn't speak. She doesn't have any lines. Yet here we are, so emotionally attached to this character who is maybe, signed three things this entire season so far. And to lose a character like that, and again, for a character like that to just be able to bring out that in Jinx, out all these emotions in Jinx, who we assumed was heartless, cruel, whatever. But she has such an effect on her that it was I I'm sitting here watching the end of the episode when it happens, and I'm like, I don't want Isha to die, but like, how do you get around this? Like, I truly think this is going to be one of those moments where it's like we were making such good progress with Jinx, and now here we are. She's gonna probably just revert back to being Jinx, or like full on Jinx, not like Jinx powder level, but God, that scene hit so hard. And a moment now I was like, okay, maybe just release the whole season. No, 3 episodes is still great.
I think that was it for me.
Yeah, if it is, then it is a proper send off for the character of Isha, who just came in swiftly and made a big difference in this show. And I mean, this is a crossroads for Powder, Jinx, whatever you want to call her. Is she going to take this and fully embrace the Jinx again and become that bad person? Or is she going to, be the badass Jinx, take all the good parts and the strength of Jinx, but keep her humanity? And I mean, I can't see this show going any other way in Act 3 other than Vi and Jinx against the world. If Isha, this blast did kill Vander/Warwick, I mean, that's got to be what we have. Vi and Jinx against the world. Maybe Kate and Sevika are on their side. Maybe they are the ones that carry the torch of Silco and Vander's vision for Zaun. And somehow that becomes... Not somehow, that would be anti-Ambessa and the Noxians. I don't know how Jace is going to work into all that. and Mel.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, but they
We
got a
haven't
lot
seen
for
Heim-
Act 3.
We haven't seen Heimerdinger or Echo either, too. We haven't gotten them. So yeah, I mean,
I
this is what you were
need
saying at the
Heimerdinger.
this is what you were saying at the beginning of the episode, man, is that we have all these storylines that we can enjoy so much on their own, but it's really where they shine the most is when they start weaving in together. And it's no other show really does a job like Arcane does. And when it comes to that, one last thing I want to say, I think for the listeners out there, is that I believe what I've heard about season 3, which I think is confirmed, is that we're not going to be returning with this cast of characters. So it's not going to be Jinx. It won't be Vi. It's going to be, they're trying to set this up to be like a whole League of Legends cinematic universe thing, I think.
Down.
So yeah, absolutely. I mean, with how well they've done with these 2 seasons, I honestly like, I've always been interested in League of Legends, and I'm glad that this can be like a nice middle ground of me, like, instead of having to learn the frustrations and like that wall of people being toxic and just like, what are you doing middle lane, you know, like this is like a nice way for me to enjoy the game without actually getting to get into that toxicity. But then season 3 is going to have a whole new cast of characters. Like we won't get Ella Purnell. I mean, who knows, they could do like maybe like a cameo at some point, but we won't be getting Ella Purnell. We won't be getting these characters. It's going to be a whole new cast of characters, which I honestly thought I heard they were going to do for season 2. Like I thought season 1 was going to end and we were going to be in like a different part of the world essentially. And like news would have been broken out about how Jinx blew up the council meeting, but we wouldn't actually see the aftermath. But I think it looks like they wanted the aftermath. And now we're just, after whatever happens at the end of this season, we're going to go to a different part of the League of Legends universe. So totally in, especially with how well they've been doing at least this part of the League of Legends universe. Anything from you guys? Anything left?
I have never been more confident in a show's ability to land the plane. Expectations are sky high for Act 3, and I fully expect them to deliver. So I'm just so excited. I don't even know if I'm going to take notes for my first watch through. I just want to
soak it all in.
Overcome me. Yeah, soak it all in. Call me a sponge, baby.
I'm a bigger sponge. I'm ready. I'm even more ready.
All right. I love it. That's going to be it for today's coverage of Arcane. If you like what you heard, give Bingetown TV a follow on all of our socials at Bingetown TV on X, Insta, YouTube, and the works. Said this last time, November is going to be a really busy month for us, and I still haven't written down the shows that we're covering, but we are covering Arcane, Dune Prophecy, Dexter
New Blood.
New Blood, yes. Original Sin. Dexter.
New Blood was the other one. Yes, we're covering Dexter.
Yeah, and there might have been one more, but you know me, I'm just going to forget it and leave it there.
Well, the last thing I want to interject, not to take your outro, join our Discord. We just started one for Arcane. There actually has been some good chatter going on, and we'd love for you to join the conversation. BingetownTV.com/Discord.
And once again, we are Bingetown TV. And thanks for listening.